When I was a young girl, I remember I worked in the cotton fields. Well, I was, at the time that I remember this, I was too little to be actually working in the cotton fields. My mother was working in the cotton field, and I rode her cotton sack when she would be picking cotton. I would lay on it and look up at the cotton bolls. And now and then when she would pull and I'd be getting sleepy, I can remember pulling off locks of that cotton and taking it and twisting it in my fingers and being amazed that I was making string. I didn't realize then that really was spinning, but I was fascinated by it at that young age, and probably I was no more than 3 or 4 years old. But I do remember that. It's a hazy memory, but I can see it to this day, just twisting that cotton and picking the seeds out and throwing them away and being amazed at the softness and the fluffiness of it. And just spinning it around in my hands. And I don't know if I might have remembered my grandmother, great-grandmother, someone spinning yarn, and maybe that's what I was thinking of. I don't have any memory of any of my people, my family, my mother or my grandmother's spinning. But my mother was a seamstress. I do remember that. She would sew and make all of our clothes and made them out of sacks that our flour came in, and they were very pretty skirts and things made. They were very patterned with roses and edgings on them, and they were beautiful skirts. And I was very happy with them. So I remember her sewing and all, but I do not remember anyone in my family spinning or creating yarn in any way or messing with fibers to create yarn. But I did have a sister who's 8 years older than me that knitted. And I watched her when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I can remember watching her knitting. And she was still a young girl. And begging her to show me how to knit. I just was fascinated by someone who would use 2 sticks and make a blanket. I just couldn't get over how fascinating that was. Some kind of a child I was, huh? Anyway, she did show me how. I learned to knit. Probably by the time I was 9 years old, I could knit, and I knew the main stitches, and I could actually make a scarf. I didn't know what I was making, just a long piece of fabric out of the knitted material. Then I became a teenager, and I guess I forgot all about that with the things a teenager does. And I was married at a very young age, 16 years old when I got married. And I lived in a country, and we didn't have any phone, and I had a couple of small children. When they were small, I had a lot of time on my hands and decided I needed hobbies. And my mother-in-law had gotten a little book called Work Basket, I believe was the name of a book back then. And it was a little small book, kind of this, not much bigger than a postcard as far as the size of it, but it was thick. And it had all kinds of crochet patterns and stuff in it. And I had those books of hers that I would look at, and I got so interested that finally I got me a subscription to it. And there was a yarn shop in our hometown, and I went and picked up me some yarn, some crochet hooks, and I crocheted. Back then it was more of the crochet thread, like you made tablecloths and doilies and things like that, and collars. Well, I wanted to knit. I still remembered those days of when I knitted and how fascinated I was with the yarn and the knitting. So I got some knitting needles and a book to teach me how to knit, learning how to knit. And the reason I did that was I'd kind of forgot how to cast on and how to actually do the stitches. So I got started again, and I haven't ever wanted to stop. And from the knitting and the fascination with the yarns, I got into spinning. Can't really tell you even when I started learning how to spin, but I just had always had a fascination for yarns, so I decided to do it. Well, I'm going to turn off the video now and do a little spinning, and when I get something accomplished here, or get to the end, or where I've got some on my bobbin to show you, I will come back and show that to you. So I'll catch you in a few minutes.